Aha! Welcome everyone! Welcome to Drakenmemoria. So, for those of you wondering what Drakenmemoria is, because you didn't mean to be here, well, it's Dungeons and Dragons. More specifically, a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. Well, tonight it's gonna be a picture and a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. Because there's one member, we don't know exactly if he's gonna be here. We just know that there was an emergency. So, maybe he'll be here, maybe he won't. Now you know as much as we do. But for everything else, and everyone else, especially those who actually know why they're here, because for some reason you've been enjoying the story and the way the characters act and the way that I talk, and because of all of that, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you back with us. Or with us for the first time. You never know. Yeah. And I only have 3 hours of sleep today, so this is bound to be interesting. Hey, don't be shy. Say something in the chat if you're there. It's a bit hard for me to answer because I have to be mindful of everything, but we have 3 wonderful players who are not always solicited by me. And who knows, maybe there's someone in the chat that actually wants to talk with you. You never know. When there are people in the chat, of course. Are there? Oh, okay. All right. So, oh, that little bit of fun is done. Let's get started more seriously inside tonight's game. So, as always, share in the chat, and I'd just like to remind all of you, we only need 8 more followers to reach our 50 followers. After which, I'll most likely come up with a rebroadcast schedule, so we can actually activate subscription for those of you who want to be subscribed. That should be interesting. For people, those of you who would like to participate, to help us in any other way right now, as long as this isn't activated, and if you're already a follower, well, just join in our Twitter or send us an email. I am the founder of Drakenmemoria, so I read everything, even the comments that we get on YouTube from, how do I say this, adult channel wanting to be known. They never leave their comments for very long, but hey, yeah, I read even those, so of course I'll read yours. At least they're always very encouraging, you know, and the picture is nice to see for a surprise. Oh, wow, someone said they love what we do, and this is, oh, interesting name. Oh, that's the picture. All right, I don't think they're actually someone who listens.
That said, solid 8. Solid 8.
So, everyone is welcome to leave a comment, even those people, you never know. Well, that's about it. That's about all the promotion that I have to give for tonight. As always, a quick thank you to Chaotic Calling, who usually joins us a little bit later on, and Kearney City Guild, who let us post on their Discord billboard. So, if you're from one of those, please say something in the chat. That way we know you're from there. And if you're wondering who those are, well, in the space below the window, there are a few panels. If you're watching this on Twitch, and you have their Discord, Kearney City Guild, it's a Discord page, and Chaotic Calling, it's their Twitch channel. They're both Dungeons and Dragons, completely Dungeons and Dragons related. One is another D&D channel, while the other one is a place where you can find people who play Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes on live streams also. Am I forgetting something? I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. Alright, so now on to the story. Last episode. Well, there's two ways of describing this. There's the long way and the short way. The long way costs a little bit more, and you need to be subscribed. The short way is... The short way is the party got their insides scrambled by magic real bad. They got to see things within planes, between planes. Some of them believe that they actually saw what a shard looked like, and they felt the attraction of the shard. But everyone managed to survive, physically anyway, the travel, and after a very, very unfortunate roll for this unstable teleportation, they fortunately found themselves in a place where there wasn't too many problems around. They were able to rest for a few hours, get off a bit of that exhaustion that had accumulated for having spent so long in the wash cycle of the universe. And they decided to make their way back to the garden to get a few days of rest, get a few information about what had happened since, how long it had been. Turns out it had been nearly 3 weeks, I believe, if not 4. So they asked about their quest, if it was still up for completion, and fortunately someone had just been sent to try and complete it, so that person was warned that the group would come in the next few days to complete it. Meanwhile, the group tried to shake off that exhaustion, do a little bit of shopping, ask a few questions, and now are about to get ready to finish that last pesky little quest. But before doing that, actually hand in the moss and mushrooms that they picked in the cavern, which were just all tossed within their dimensional storing, which they still don't know if for the dimensional storing 3 weeks went by or only a few hours, like for them. So this is bound to be also a surprise. You never know. They might just find dead mushrooms or a room full of mushrooms. Hey, both can be interesting. Yeah, this is what happens when...
It's a stone cavern, so I don't know if the mushrooms are growing, but...
This is what happens when you give me too much time to think about how things are supposed to go. It's never a good idea. All right.
And this
Open our
is why, with
dimensional-
your continued patronage, we could have sessions every day. No.
God.
I wouldn't mind, but I don't think everyone would be able to.
I'm just like, do you want to see me with actually 5 points of exhaustion? Because that's what that's what that would look like for me.
Ah, come on. You're still young. When I was your age, I easily go a few weeks with only 2 or 3 hours of sleep every day. It's not so bad. You start seeing creatures, shadows move. You're not sure if the person in front of you is actually real. It just makes life interesting. And then one night you sit in front of your computer, you close your eyes, you put your hands on each side of your computer, you take a deep breath, and you can't figure out for the life of you what you're gonna see when you open your eyes. Are you gonna be at school, at work, on the bus, on the toilet bowl?
Maybe the face of God.
Who knows? I couldn't even tell what I had between my hands. Could have been the wall, could have been the person, could have been something personal, could have been the computer. Don't worry. You can live with this. You can live like this. Well, I've never been able to tell the time of the day since, without a watch. Know when I was during the week without a calendar, but hey, I survived. You can too. And it's Dungeons and Dragons. What better cause to make such a sacrifice than for Dungeons and Dragons? I made it for programming. I would have rather it was Dungeons and Dragons. Alright, enough rambling. So, audience, Remy, Fisher, picture of Tykar. What are you all doing as the day that you've been slowly using to recover, the second day most likely, is drawing close to its end? Remy is, I believe, making its way back to, I don't know where exactly, but he just asked for something to make him fly, and he got the very interesting response of, find me a feather from a non-common flying creature, and I'll make you something that will help you fly. And I believe this was exactly where we left off.
Remy comes back with a Tyrannosaurus Rex feather.
Did they really have feather? Mine did. Here's something, since I wasn't expecting to underline this element. Remy, could you make an intelligence roll for me, please? It's for memory. It's most likely something that Remy might think of.
Intelligence, right?
Yeah.
That'll be a soft 20.
Soft 20, well, yeah. It was spoken a bit softly, haha. But as you think about this, a feather from something different. You keep walking, going toward wherever you wanted to go after that, and there is a small voice that comes back into your memory. A voice that you have judged to be unconsequential for your relationship with audience. But the subject of the discussion might have been slightly irritating for you, but then a part of that conversation comes back to your mind. You hear the voice of Grim the Kobold say to audience, "Oh yeah, I don't think he's a dragon because I've only ever seen one dragon with feathers, and he didn't look like him."
Remy just like, I just want you to imagine just like Remy just like just like sudden a light bulb, but then also a bit of dread. Because he knows what this might require.
So you have that bit of information that comes back into your mind. Okay. It's an option.
an option that it's like, oh no, not him again. But I guess then shakes it off for now.
You
And
have time.
and I mean, honestly, if he's kind of like out and about, and since like outside the game, you gave this idea, which kind of is appropriate. Uh, Raimi is going to go look for Valtteri.
Okay. It wouldn't be that hard to find. You know her a little bit, so you can always go to the Arboretum. Um, it's a bit of a large place. You can try to pinpoint her even more using the orbs, simply by asking to be placed in a conversation with her. Or you can just try and figure out where she is. She most likely is in the Arboretum. You remember that it was the only place she felt comfortable.
It's the first place he'd look.
Okay. Then in that case, I'll have you make a perception roll.
With disadvantage because she blends in with the background.
Oh no, the DC is going to be relatively high because, like I said, it's the Arboretum is roughly the size of Central Park.
I see. Here's the problem. Raimi is making the roll. So what does a 24 give me?
24. All right. So you know she's there. What part exactly of the Arboretum are you going to look in? There are three major areas. There are the fields where they're actually growing food. There's the forest, which is the largest part of the Arboretum, as the name would imply. And there is, on the other extremity, more of a garden area where there's a lot of small ponds and bit of the Zen gardens everywhere. Which of those three places are you going to look for her?
I would say, based on his impressions of Valtteri anyway, he's going to try the garden first, and then if she's not there, he's going to try the forest.
Okay.
He doesn't think she's going to be in the fields.
Okay. In that case, it's probably gonna take you most of what's left in the day. You already take about an hour to get to the gardens. You go about. Are you sometime trying to ask someone for if they've seen her, or are you entirely just focusing on you? I'm gonna find her. Alone, because a lot of people seems to be warned about me.
I would say that he would focus on finding her himself. However, because he also has seen her at some point and can minor illusion her, if he's having trouble, then he can look for somebody that's around to see if they've seen her personally. But he'll usually do his normal thing of just finding things himself.
Okay. So, you look around for 2 or 3 hours, I'd say, until eventually you find, or rather you hear a gnome walking just before entering the forest part of the Arboretum. You see one gnome coming out and you hear him say, Oh, well, she's... I think she's doing better. You know, at least she's talking to people again. But, you know, she keeps trying to play with the other dog. But, you know, she can't compete. She always keeps changing, but changing back after a few hours, while the other one just stays a dog all day long. So you hear that conversation, and okay, he's coming from the Arboretum, so try and explore the Arboretum a bit more. Takes you a few hours again, but eventually you do find, sitting on a rock, drawing in her sketchbook, Valtteri, who is currently spying on a small squirrel. That, when you look at the squirrel very attentively, feels like he's actually spying on her.
It's like kind of like a staring contest, but not really.
Oh, but you know, he's just there with a little acorn and...
And I can only imagine, just as he's maybe walking up behind Valtteri, she's actually drawing this image before her.
Yeah, she seems to be finding this moment very cute with him with the acorn in his mouth and just looking at her for a moment, then looking back forward and sometimes giving it a look just before he grabbing a bite. So he get this moment where he just goes. So she's there. It took you maybe 3, maybe 4 hours in total to find her. So it's starting to be a bit late in the day.
Yeah, it's like I want to imagine, just like as like Raimi is like basically imagine him just kind of like walking up to Valthadif, like from behind, seeing the sketchbook, and just like the beak is protruding past her face.
You get this moment just like Shrek with the donkey. If I remember correctly, she had a... Alright. Are you trying to approach her stealthily or not?
I'm not trying to
Okay.
approach. It's just he just so happened to like just be interested in what she's drawing, and maybe got a bit too close.
Okay. So there's a moment where you get this cartoon moment where she's drawing, and then suddenly from the corner of her eye she sees this beak appearing, this long black beak slowly appearing, and then herself, she just goes... Hi. It was Raimi, right? It's
Raimi nods his head.
It's been a very long time. I haven't heard anything from you for almost a month. How have you all been?
I just want you to imagine there's like a movie scene playing in Raimi's eyes for a moment. Like, and just puts up a towel in hand and goes,
Oh. Well, what happened? Is everyone all right?
Thing sounds like just does it again, but then kind of gives a thumb up.
Okay. Oh, well, is everyone alive?
Raimi nods and then opens his beak, and a loud snoring sound comes out of it.
They're all sleeping?
So yeah, it's kind of like he puts up the hand again, kind of like this. It's like Anything minor illusions a chair.
Oh, they're all resting.
Raimi nods.
Okay. Well, at least you're all alive. And I admit, audience can be a bit of a handful. So I hope it's not because of him that you're all so exhausted.
Raimi narrows his eyes, and with no context, minor illusions an image of of Thykar.
Oh, okay. Is that a new friend?
Friend's a strong word.
Raimi confidently shakes his head.
Oh, I've never seen him. Is he part of the garden?
Raimi nods.
Okay. Well. So he's a handful also, like audience.
Just I just want to imagine they're just like sharing a look and then just slowly nods.
Yeah. Well, well, I hope everything goes well. You probably had time to do a lot of adventuring. You've been gone for a while. Haven't had any news from you for quite a long time. Yeah.
I guess maybe just like I want to imagine just like Raimi thinks for a moment and just kind of like minor allusions to some of the things that they've seen, like the water elemental, fire cat, the mushrooms.
She does have a bit of a moment with the fire cat. You get the feeling that it's probably because she doesn't have the scale, the proper scale in mind. Then there's the cave. Oh, okay. There's Otanel. Civ and Isalina. Well, she's actually happy to know that they're going well. They're doing well. She had a feeling that they were going to stay close to one another. And then there's the whole movie of things that you really can't put words on them. The teleportation and the huge crystal-like thing between world, and this is where she goes, Well, what is this? What's so? Who was responsible for this one?
Brings back up the image of that car.
Oh,
And then probably for extra context, holds out the orb.
okay. Oh wow, natural 20. Oh, so that's the rumor about the unstable transport. That was all of you. Okay.
Anime sweat drop.
It's always us.
I was sure it was audience's fault. Oh well, now I know. If you remember, she kept blaming you for everything that was going wrong, especially in those last few episodes. It became a reflex for her to all the audience. What did you do? Okay, so it was him. Well, I hope you keep your new friend a bit in check, because if he's responsible for those teleportation, I mean, if you're not the first one to report a transportation like this, but you're the first one that they were worried of losing. So at least you all came out the other end.
Raimi isn't sure how to feel about that.
Um, well, that was very interesting story. And it was nice seeing you again.
So Raimi, like, kind of like holds up a talon for a second, and then like looks in his bag
Oh,
and pulls out the bag of herbs
okay.
or the pouch of herbs.
Is that for me?
Do you need some help, Raimi?
So there's help involved. Are you helping me with something, or am I helping you with something?
Points to her, then points to him.
Okay. So, what do you want me to help you with those herbs?
He kind of like minor illusions uh I guess maybe a sun works in this case, and kind of like holds out like one of the herbs toward it.
I know what you mean, but
I know.
that's a bit low for a roll. No, I don't think she'd get it. She looks at it and you want you want me to get this to the sun? I really don't think I can do that.
Raimi shakes his head. thinks for another moment. Let's see. He's going to. Actually, yeah, he'll use a spell slot for this. Uh, he will. He will silent image a clothesline, like with clothes, like like being laid out to, like on clothespins,
Yeah. Okay.
and then minor illusions the sun on top of it, and then points to the herbs.
Okay. She rolled great at the beginning, but now she's rolling worse than worst. We're losing 2 points every roll. Okay, with that. You want me to dry them on a clothesline?
So maybe kind of like does but then like shakes his head.
Okay.
And then he will pull out the brazier that he has, and
Let's just see. Losing points. And
this one might be iffy because like she might not really know much about like different spells, but he does pull out his ritual book, and Find Familiar is now incidentally on the druid spell list as it cautious. So she should be at least familiar with the spell.
yeah. Unfortunately for you, she's seen someone else before use that. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, that's a little bit better. Okay. So you want me to prepare those herb for casting the spell?
Raimi nods his head.
Okay. Well, it's gonna take a little bit of time. I see that your leaves have started to dry a bit. They might have been wet a bit because they look a little slimy. It's probably gonna take a little while, a few days.
Raimi nods his head and makes like the okay symbol.
Okay. Okay, I can do that. There's this. It's not that hard. Um, do I take them now? And when are you gonna come back and get them? Or do I just ask someone to leave them in your room when they're done, and whenever you come back, you can just take them back?
As she is saying that specific part, Raimi nods and kind of like minor illusions the quest board.
Okay. So you're going on a quest. So you're gonna come back after that to get them. All right. They could be ready depending on how long your quest is. Sure, I can do that for you.
As Raimi hands the bag to her, he says in a gruff voice, like, thank you, Raimi, I owe you one.
Oh, you don't owe me anything. All right, I'll do it probably tomorrow because today it's the sun is going to be going down, whatever they use for a sun anyway. I'll get started on this tomorrow morning.
Raimi nods, gives her a little hug.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She awkwardly gives you that uncomfortable, awkward. Okay. Thanks. Okay. And then take half a step back. To tell everyone that I miss them. They can always visit me whenever they can.
Raimi nods and makes a little rainbow.
Right. Okay, well. Goodbye. Have a good day. She takes back her sketchbook and just looks at you for a moment and start drawing again. Keeps an eye on you for a few moments, at least until you leave. Okay, she's going to do this as best as she can. Probably going to be ready in a few days. Something like between 2 to 4 days. Can take up to 10
Meanwhile,
days.
in a different part of the garden.
Meanwhile, in a different part of the garden, yeah. Okay, I'd say Fisher, you're probably the one who had the least doing. What was that?
Amber Alert.
Oh, okay. It sounded like a foghorn from a boat.
I mean, Amber just wants everyone to know that she's here.
That's one way of saying
I know
it.
I shouldn't joke about that, but
No, that's all right. We also had one a few days ago here. So. Yeah. So, Fisher, while you are resting, you're probably the one that's the easiest for you to get through this resting period, because since you're mostly an arcane machine, you can just get one rest, get one rest, get one rest, and everyone's still going to be sleeping for a day at least. So now what?
That was a good question. Well, I would.
If you want a few more minutes to think about it, I can go to audience instead.
Yeah.
All right.
No idea what I'm doing.
All right, then instead, let's go to audience while Fisher is trying to figure out what he's doing in his room. He could just be staring at the wall for the next 20 hours. Also. Studying the wall. It's this brassy color. It's soothing.
That's only fun to do when there are people to weird out with it.
Oh, in that case, you're gonna go back underwater for 20 hours. See if that gnomes keeps coming back every day, every morning that you're in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, in that case, audience, is there something that audience would like to do?
Unfortunately for Dre, I'm actually not gonna be that helpful. I was gonna say like audience was gonna have slept and rested, and then pretty much just have gone to the tavern to wait for everybody on the required moment because he didn't have a lot to do here. So I don't think I was gonna be nothing. Nothing I want to do is in this city.
Okay.
So,
Meanwhile, during the day, is there any shopping that audience would like to do, or he's just gonna go to the tavern,
yeah.
get a meal, see who's there, talk a bit, go back to his room, or maybe the arboretum, rest a bit there, take a moment to pray and
Yeah.
have a conversation with its dad, then go back to sleep.
Yeah. That's pretty much what would be going on. I wouldn't actually really go shopping. There was nothing I'd be buying right now.
Okay.
So.
Well, on the first day, since this has been requested to me so often, on the first day, you would get visited by 2 gnomes. Probably the first time that you go inside the arboretum, just take a few moments and think about everything that has happened recently, and wow, you really didn't expect the world to have this many weird things in it. And if you could live all of that in such a short period of time, imagine with those really experienced heroes that have been sharing the garden with you, what some of them might have lived. Some of them have been adventuring for longer than you've been alive.
And somehow I feel like I've experienced more than some of them. My brief time.
Some. Some. While you're thinking about this, you notice 2 gnomes coming, and they're both walking their heads down like this, and when they see you, oh, come on. You do actually understand Gnomish. So
I do.
you understand them going, yeah, but and in Gnomish, I don't want to do. He said we have to. Come on, it was a harmless experiment. They both get to you, and the one that just said it was a harmless experiment looks at you.
Already deeply worried, but okay.
Looks at you shyly, and then looks at the ground. Do you still have the orb that we gave you with the recording of your friend?
I do not still have the orb. I didn't feel like was my possession to keep. I gave it to my friend.
Which one?
Anvara.
She hasn't been back here for a while.
Yeah. I have not heard of it since I gave it to her, so...
Well, if you meet her again, tell her that we have to get it back. Apparently, and then you get the other gnome that just elbows the gnome. Ow! Yeah, I'm telling him. Apparently, doing this was in contradiction with the rules that the garden gave us. The members of the expedition that are from this world didn't agree to be part of our experiment explicitly. And even though it was a perfectly harmless experiment, and it did... Ow, stop elbowing me.
Okay, why don't you just contact her? She has an orb, doesn't she? I don't know when I'll see her.
Yeah. I was hoping you had it.
No, I don't have it. You have to go. You have to go contact her.
Okay. Well, elbow me again, and I'm gonna. All right, I'm gonna do it. But if you ever meet her, can you ask her for me? I told you I'm good. And you see the other gnomes start running after the first gnome. We elbowed him again, and they just runs away, and you hear them. He said we had to get to ask. Shut up.
Audience starts thinking about a plan for the garden to have a legal team with possible paperwork and no.
Teaching the gnomes the C word.
You must get a contract first before you.
So that's what you get from them.
All right. I'm like, well, I guess if I see her, I won't do that, but I'll tell them I will. I'm like, I need to do that. It's not my job.
They'll probably appreciate it, but you know. So this day you end it with the small comfort that there actually are rules, that they're not supposed to be transgressing about using their experiments on members who have joined the expedition from your world.
Ladies and gentlemen, they have limits.
They've
The
been
audience, I think, is more worried about them putting his name somehow into the experiments. He wants to make it very clear that he was not a participant in this in any way.
But you know, they're gnomes, and they found a way around it, but apparently someone higher than them in here got word of this, and they were told not to do it again.
Fair enough.
So, the rest of the day probably goes, although a bit weird, very uneventful. The next day, you wake up and, you know, you're starting to feel really good. You just feel this little bit of exhaustion that, you know, if you try and do something a little bit complicated, I'm not going to be mean on example with this one, but if you try and do something very complicated, your mind starts wandering off. But other than that, you're mostly all right, and you're very confident that tomorrow, when you're going to wake up, your body is going to have recovered from this so weird experience that you've just survived. When you go to the inn, the tavern, on that day, Remy, where were you going after Valtteri? Your own room?
I imagined he would be off for food, considering he was like pretty much out for most of the day.
Okay.
He doesn't need much food to survive as a Kenku, but you know.
Okay. So, audience, you're in the tavern, and just waiting there, and you see Raimi entering the tavern from the door that's usually people are coming from the Arboretum when they get in there, and you know, Fisher, he sort of knew that you'd all be there eventually, so seems to have been part of the mobile decoration of this place for half a day. So you find yourself all gathered up, and you remember that Tykar was pretty tired, so he's probably just still in his room trying to recover from this, but you find yourself all together. Looking at one another.
Oh, I guess I will say as a side thing, like, would Raimi have arrived second or third?
So you'd have been the second to join the group, but technically you're the third to arrive because Fisher's been there for quite a while. He just has a lower passive perception than you. So you realize the group was there after you.
Right, because now that Raimi is a little less tired, he is remembering events a little bit and kind of like, I would say, is like maybe a bit more bashful as he's kind of like approaching the table and kind of like make sure that he's kind of like on the opposite side of the table from audience.
Oh, good.
Audience has zero awareness of this at all.
Yeah, no, your passive perception, you just see, he's sitting down on the other side. Probably a good reason for that. And Fisher, you're probably the one who recognized this the easiest. There's an awkward silence with Raimi when he's looking at audience for a few moments. An audience who seems to be completely oblivious to that and just must be his thing. Remy has that look that you've often seen on sailors. That I did something that I shouldn't do. Usually, when it's sailors, it's... Didn't I do that in the last town also?
Do I realize it's directed at audience?
Well, he probably has this awkward look in his eyes every time his stare crosses audience's stare, who is just looking around and taking things in. And usually, Remy just keeps looking at him, but now he's more...
No.
And usually he would have said for the dragons at least once.
Did you guys have a good couple days rest?
Yes.
Do anything exciting?
No.
Anything you shouldn't have done?
No.
Raimi jumps.
Alright.
Then shakes his head.
Should we, audience, did you ever get around to turning in the mushrooms from the last one?
I did not.
How many did you guys end up able to get in there before we had to
I have
leave?
no idea. I have not looked.
You want to open it up and see?
Sure. I'll open up the dimensional space.
right next to where you're sitting right now, or do you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a garden, dude. People are used to
the right
magical
side, we're doing
shit.
this in the garden this time, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just meant, do you want to do this in the inn, or do you want to go somewhere else? But yeah, no. They're most likely no one's gonna react to this, but you know, just in case. So you take the little shard and place it in front of you. You let the fissure appear, this small line, and you look inside. Well, there's a lot of rocks. There is some moss. There are a few mushrooms. Most of them looks a bit damaged. Not a lot of pristine mushrooms. The moss looks a bit dry, to be honest. Didn't spread a lot. The mushroom feels mushroomy. You know, that's... But they are mostly in pieces. They did ask you for complete mushrooms, but... Okay.
Can I sift through and kind of
Sure.
separate what I think seems to be usable from
Sure.
compost, I guess?
I'm hesitating between investigation and nature.
Raimi would offer assistance / help.
All right. Well, I guess you can do either. Investigation, just to... That would mean that you're just looking at this and not necessarily from a gardening point of view, but just to... Okay, well, this seems to be in fairly good condition. All right. Put it in the pile. That's good. Or nature, really looking at each one of them and say, okay, so this one is healthy, this one is damaged but healthy. That's... I don't know what that is. I'm giving you the option. Which one do you want to go with?
I would go with investigation and leave it up to whoever we give it to more in-depth
All right.
look. So do I get advantage because Raimi's helping me? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. Unless Remy wants to make his own roll.
I guess that's what's your investigation?
You don't know. +5.
Okay, so we have the same investigation, so technically it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
With Dre's rolls, it does matter.
When I have advantage, it's okay. Sometimes. Okay, I'm just gonna roll 2 dice.
How does that work out for you?
Please tell me.
Okay. So, the second one was technically better.
Technically.
However,
okay.
No.
the first one was a 1, and the second one was a 2. So that gives me a total of 7.
Yeah, maybe you should have rolled. I knew it. And what
I'm
was that?
so good at this game, guys.
Can I quote Dre real quick? If I have advantage, it's okay.
I knew as soon as I said that, it was going to be bagged. But then I was like, fuck it, let's go for it. See what
You know, for my own curiosity, I'm not going to tell you what it is because you're going to hate that number. Anyway.
You're going to hate it so much. Okay, so
Moving on.
you sit down in
I
there.
don't know
and
anything about plants.
You sit down in there and You keep doing this thing where you take the rock and that's moss. Then you compare it with your own root system. Colors similar, must be good. Like, not realizing that when moss is thirsty, it becomes brown.
I'm just hoping they're gonna accept everything anyway, so that we still get paid for it. So I'm just like, yeah, looks good. That looks good.
So,
Sure.
so basically, with a roll like this, all you're doing is removing what's only rock.
Yeah. Not. I'm keeping the rocks that have moss on them, but
Or at
just
least
the plain
something on
rocks
them.
I'm throwing out.
Oh, that's something. Probably good. Probably good. I think that's a mushroom. Looks like one. Probably good. That's just a rock. I don't know what that is. That's also a rock. So after a moment, you feel confident that you don't know a lot about nature.
Fair enough.
But you've managed to remove the simple rocks from the pile.
I kept trying to ask people, and they're like, they're plants. Keep them together. I'm like, okay.
Every time you looked at someone else coming in and peering through the gate of this dimensional storing, and you think that's good? You don't know why. They kept saying, I'm not a druid. What do I look like? A nature
Even.
priest?
Well, let's go turn it in to see what we can get for it.
Okay. So, you made 2 piles. Place them on the table. Take 1 pile to the person. Well, apparently they're both gonna be at the same place. So, take these last few moments of the day to take whatever you can to the herb shop that wanted them. You arrive in. Are you all 3 going there, or just Audience and Fisher because they're strongest, or do you just keep it all in the dimensional storing and open your dimensional storing again when you get there? In that case, you only need Audience.
I mean, I'll go because I have to kind of go. But anyone who wants to come with me, it's up to them.
I'll go.
Raimi goes, but on the way there, he kind of like uses Fisher as a dividing barrier.
Oddly enough, Fisher, usually there's something wrong with the image. Usually, you see Audience, you see Remy, then you see yourself. Now you see Audience, and then yourself.
I keep thinking
And then
Raimi's
Raimi.
just not with us because he's too stealthy, and I'm not perceptive enough to keep remembering that he's actually on the other side.
Yeah, probably. Hold on. What is Remy's passive stealth?
Is it better than 11?
That's what I want to know.
Raimi
I'm gonna go with yes.
Raimi has a +8 bonus to stealth.
Then yes, Remy's passive stealth is higher than 11. So yeah, you have pretty soft feet. So, Fisher, you think that Raimi didn't follow you this time? But he's in fact 3 feet behind you, and just following you from so close that no one can see him from in front of you. From the other side, it just looks like you're wearing a feather skirt. So, you make your way to this little shop. And it's in the same pillar where Sal works. But right now, he doesn't seem to be here. However, you do meet someone else who looks at all of you, and the moment you enter the shop, okay, I think that's the right shop. Look at the orb. Yeah, I think it's the right shop. You enter it. You see a gnome. Just not doing much, just looking around. And you enter. Oh! Hi! Oh! You're the one with the quest!
Yep.
I
It's been a bit.
I was afraid that the mushroom ate you.
They tried.
Oh,
And
that was
we,
a joke. I'm sorry. I didn't think it was actually happening.
And then we spent 2 weeks in an astral dimension running away from those said mushrooms.
Right. Well, I mean, never happened to me, but I know someone that it did happen to. Took him 300 years to find his way back, though, so you might have been faster.
I don't think it's been 300 years, so I think we're lucky there.
No, 300 years, I would have had time to start growing these mushrooms. Alright, so let's see. What did you get me? Where is it?
It's in the portal. I'm going to be honest with you. We were in kind of a hurry. As we said, we were trying to be eaten by mushrooms, so I'm going to be honest. Not our best work. But we're...
Okay.
We have something.
Okay. Keep my expectation low. Got it.
Maybe just minor illusions. The image of one of the shrooms that attacked them.
Oh, you got those too. Oh, I guess, yeah, that makes sense now. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, we got an infestation of them from the morgue. They think that it's the adventurer that died from the mushrooms. It would have been maybe a few days after you left. There was just an infestation of them. They just came out. We tried to reach you, but at least I tried to reach you, but you didn't answer. Oh, I guess you were stuck between planes, huh?
Yeah.
Good times.
Weird. So was the guy like infected by it or something? Like,
Oh, yeah. They're called violet fungus, and when you get killed by a violet fungus, they leave spores inside of you, and they stay inside for a while, and after something like between a week and 2 weeks, they just burst out, and that's how they reproduce.
well, luckily none of us were killed. So
Well, that's a good thing.
we will not be bringing any spores with us.
Well, that's very good. Sorry we didn't warn you. I mean, but actually we did try. You just didn't answer. So that was
Yeah.
on you, not on us. I'm sure Latane wouldn't see it that way. He's a bit of a sourpuss on that. So,
I'll open the dimensional rift for him.
Okay,
With the
okay. Oh,
mushrooms.
interesting thing. I guess that's how they do it in your world. Okay, so let's see what's inside. Oh, goodness.
Remember, expectations low.
Yeah. Expectations low. Expectation low. Well, I was gonna say that's not really good merchandise, but with low expectation, hey, that's great, man. I really appreciate it. It's there's definitely something we can do with this.
I'm glad to hear it.
How do you like your salads?
Not mushroomy?
Oh, well then, even lower expectations. I mean, I guess. Okay. Let's see. This. Why is this in there? That's. He's looking at a rock with a brown thing on it. That's not moss. Were there bats in there?
Who knows? It was dark. I don't have night vision.
Well, that could have helped. Okay. Well, just have to keep it in mind. I have nitrate now. Okay. What's this? Oh, well, that looks like moss. It looks like they kind of good, a bit dry. You know, next time you should think about watering them a bit. There's usually water where you get them, so that's how they keep hydrated. Okay, so that's good, that's good. And he starts just making piles, and when he gets to the mushrooms, yeah, oh, it's a good thing. Mushrooms can grow back from a lot of things. Well, I can't give you much for the mushrooms, you know, since I'm gonna have to try and grow them from that. But I guess I can give you something because, hey, I have something to grow them with. So, the moss. Oh, it's not too bad. Fortunately, moss is a bit hard to injure. And apparently you butchered it before it got dehydrated a bit. So that helps a lot for its survival. Okay, how about 5, maybe 25. Well, that's a good one. How about I give you 75 gold and a potion of healing.
I will take it.
All right.
I'm not haggling for this.
All right. So he starts gathering it all up, goes in the back store, comes back with a small bag and a little bottle. So here you go.
Alright. I'll say maybe we should give this potion of healing to Tykar whenever he wakes up. He seems to need it a lot. Maybe we'll stop him from using the orb again.
Maybe.
Or at least use it when it's not an emergency.
I don't think he enjoyed what happened any more than we did, so probably not going to be super fast to do that either.
Fair enough. Alright. I guess I'll split the 75 gold 4 ways and hold on to Tykar's portion for the moment. Yeah. So, 75 divided by 4. Does anyone want to do that for me real quick? Because I don't want to do it.
You can always just divide it by 3 and give him the potion.
You know what? That's a good point. I'm gonna do that.
He's getting the highest value, you know. You can't argue with that.
He doesn't need to know how much we got. All right, we each get 25 gold. He gets a potion. Technically, he's making double than us.
Sounds
Can't complain.
Gnomish divisions. Alright, so you take your money and you start leaving the shop. Takes a few moments. You've barely gone down one street when suddenly, coming out of nowhere, you see one of the warden. He comes right toward all of you. And for you, audience, it's a bit hard. You know, they sort of all look the same. Remy, because you have such a high passive perception, you've been able to identify a few of them as being different. This one is definitely one of them. Fisher, because, you know, it's your race, just from another world. You easily recognize this warden as being Illithane himself. He's making his way toward your group.
big man incoming.
Audience looks and has been like, well, he doesn't look any larger than any of the others, but I mean,
It's like big, like the boss. Like that's Illithane.
ah,
There it is.
Maybe just as kind of like,
Sharp as ever, audience.
maybe it's just kind of like peeking out from behind Fisher.
so I'll be like, what's up, Illithane? What brings you out on this night? I don't see you around much.
Well, we have a lot of things to administer. The garden is quite a large fortress. I guess you could compare that to that in your world. And having a population of gnome is not exactly relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially there's one who has been asking me for permission to weaponize the dimensional test marbles.
The what now?
Gnomes, they keep using test marbles for whatever phases out. If one day you ever go to take care of personal business and there's a marble that comes out, just let us know. It means someone didn't respect the guidelines that were given to them. But a lot of them can actually phase in and out. And one gnome keeps saying that it could be a very interesting thing to sell to people. He's been hounding me for days. Imagine, Illithane, you could have a sling munition that can skip a target and get the next one.
Sounds like an easy way to hit somebody you're not trying to hit.
Well, that's the point that we're trying to make with them.
I know an adventurer who uses a sling, who could give you an opinion. Came by. Forget his name. I'll check my notes. friend Tobiash. Which is audience like pulls out a booklet with a bunch of names.
No, that's not him.
That's a long shot. His name's Long Shot.
Oh, yes.
He might be able to give you opinion on the subject.
Yes, because you all want to give marbles which can be thrown across a wall and hit a target behind the wall. You can't see what's behind the wall, but the marble can. I guess a monk is as wise as you can get. Maybe I'll try to put them all in contact. But I was specifically here for one of you, audience.
Yes.
It has come to the attention of one of us that you have lived through some special events.
I mean, you could say my whole life is special. What specific events are you talking about?
One, well, I guess from your perspective, within the last few weeks. From our perspective, last few months.
Yes.
One that you were a little uncomfortable talking about near your friends? To the orb?
Would you like to talk in private about this?
Actually, there is something we would like to talk to you about concerning this. Maybe you could just follow me?
Yeah. I'll give the guys the nod, and then mouth at them, hope I'm not in trouble. Then just walk away. Like when the teacher calls you out of the classroom and you just look back at the people see you on the other side.
When it's Illithane, it's more like the principal.
Yeah. See you on the other side, boys.
If I survive.
And his audience leaves. Raimi significantly relaxes and even falls to the ground.
Fisher, you hear right from behind you.
I look around, confused. Look down.
Wait, how long you been here, dude?
I thought you stayed at the inn.
Raimi, I guess, looking up from the ground, just kind of stares.
Today is not my day.
You hear from inside of you, well, at least you've been avoiding walls.
Wow, rude.
It's only rude when it never happened. But it did, didn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
And as always, Remy, you just hear that. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, he's looking at you. All right.
Just continue staring up on the ground.
As audience is leaving, be like, all right, I guess we'll meet you at the inn later.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't get kicked out.
All right. So, nice place to take a short break. So, I see we have Chaotic Calling who has joined us. Hello. So, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and probably gonna try and do it as close to 10 minutes as possible, because with one party member missing, there's a bit less ground to cover. So you might actually get to the start of the next quest, get everyone moving. So see you all in 10 minutes, or at least as close as we can get to 10 minutes. See you in 10 minutes.
See you guys.
Welcome back. Well, as you can see, the fourth player hasn't come back. That's the bad news. The good news is we still have 3 players for tonight. So, that's always that. And so, let's keep on playing. For those of you who might be watching right now, who aren't followers but are liking what's happening, I don't know why you would, but you know, if you like it, what's the reason why you haven't joined us as a follower? Come on, help me out. Help us out. Hard times right now, you know. With the virus, I don't have a lot of job. Give me a little chance to become someone that makes money out of something he likes. You don't have to like it, but I like it. So
Either that or at least send cookies, you know?
well, I'd like more variety than just cookies, but yeah, sure. Alright. So, let's get started. Enough pity pleading. Let's get back to the game. So, on one side we have Fisher and Remy, who are leaving toward the inn, and on the other side we have Audience leaving with Ilithane. Audience.
Yes.
You follow Ilithane for a while, and takes a bit of time to go where you're going, because he's taking you all the way around the Arboretum and to the command area. A door that you've only went through once.
It's like I'm definitely about to die.
A door you only went through once when you got your object, and haven't been through since. It probably takes you a good hour of walk to get there. So while you're walking, is there anything you'd like to talk to Ilithane about? Or are you just, oh god, I hope I'm not in trouble. Oh god, I'm holding up.
Now I'd probably try and start a light, breezy conversation to
Like what?
How's the weather?
no, probably more like, so how are the other adventurers doing? You know, everyone doing good, everyone happy, making progress.
Well, they're adventurers. If they're not in trouble, they're not happy. So there's a bit of a contradiction there.
You know, everyone completing their quests, no one dying. Got less breezy real quick, but I'm rolling with it.
Well, as far as death goes, we did have another one 5 days ago. Unfortunately, he wasn't fast enough to use his orb and try and get out. He just got worried and most likely became too nervous, froze. Unfortunately,
Anyone I knew?
Most likely not. But you never know. It was a gnome. Didn't make a lot of friends, had one of those gnomish nicknames that are 5 miles long. Something like Needlepine?
I feel like somebody in our group talked to him, but it wasn't me. So I don't.
Anyway.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I didn't know him, but sorry to hear about it. Anyway.
You're all adventurers. It's to be expected. And some of you are a bit more bold than others. I would imagine you would have guessed that this is why you are following me right now. Well, some would call this boldness recklessness, now wouldn't they?
I mean, I think there could be a case made between recklessness and boldness. You know, boldness is doing something, taking action and doing something well. Reckless is going into a situation where you don't have too much hope of succeeding and putting other members of your party or the organization in danger. I'd like to think that I am quite bold and definitely not reckless.
Then you have a problem with your definition, as you are contradicting yourself.
I mean, everyone I've been around has still alive, and we've made it through and some tough situations. So I'd like to think that the results speak for themselves, and as long as no one is dead, it is considered bold and not reckless.
Yes, many gnomes share that opinion here.
Already making an argument before we even get already.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you do the entire hour of walk with small conversation like this.
Like, how are the wife and kids? Ooh.
How's your world doing? Oh, I mean,
How's your love life?
Then you think about Fisher. No, it could be good. It could be right. How's your love life? So you keep on talking a bit like this for a moment, and you don't know why, but you get this feeling that Illithane is most likely a lot smarter and wiser than you. Or in statistic term, his intelligence and wisdom are probably pretty much higher than yours.
I mean, he's been around a lot longer. I'd expect it.
However, you've never spent so much time with him. An hour of walk, few steps behind him, all the way. There's a sense of steadiness about him. Like one of those rocks in reefs just in front of the in front of every single other rock. There's often this one rock, this one huge boulder reef in front of all of the others who just keeps weathering the elements. You get a feeling of something like that as you're walking behind him. There's something old, ancient, and immovable with him. And for the first time, but also because it's the first time that you have this sense since you've came back to the garden, there is a sense that comes with him that you can perceive because of this shard sense that you've acquired not too long ago.
He got a smell. I see.
He's got a psychic smell, yeah. of war. Long, hopeless, drawn-out war.
I do not comment on this. You smell of hopelessness. And war. Probably not the most polite thing to say to someone.
From the little you were able to understand of what these are, it's more a sense of the essence of the shard they've either had a brush with or were a part of for a long time. He comes from a place that nature itself is war. Or maybe simply the struggle to survive. So as you're taking in that odd feeling about him, but also the fact that even though he has that sense and that element about him, usually every single person you've ever met in your life has seen extensive war, and it's not that common right now in the Shattered Continent. It's fairly warless. There are always a few kingdoms at war, left and right, but real war, the last real war of the Shattered Continent, was the War of Aberration, which is probably the closest thing that the Shattered Continent has known to the equivalent of our own World War. So usually the people you've met who've known these things, they also have an excessively dark element to their personality because of everything they've seen. But he speaks with an even tone. He's even joking from time to time.
And I respect him for it.
So as you take all of these odd and new feelings, you eventually arrive in front of the door that leads to the command area. And you enter. Lets you in. And maybe 10 or 20 steps after you've went through that door, you see Thayag, who is also there. She's walking in the same direction as you, just a few steps behind you. But as you approach, she gives you a respectful slight bow, always smiling, and just, hello.
Hello. I'll give her a nod as well.
You haven't spent a lot of time with her, but you know that there's something slightly odd about her. She does seem to have connection to some sort of powers. For the life of you, you can't decide if she's human or half-elf. She's a bit short for human, but the feel is definitely human, although her feature seems slightly elven. It's an odd mix. But she always greets everyone with a smile, and she does the same thing for you. As you're walking, she just said, so Ilitane, you've been able to get everyone in the same room, I guess? Yes, I have. Right, this will make things much easier. Was a bit time consuming talking to everyone on their own. Alright.
Audience is feeling out of his depth, but will not say anything. It's like, why am I here?
This is one thing that your sense is also picking, the shard sense. Thayag is old. You get the feeling that she's older than Ilithane.
Okay. And then here I am. I'm 15 years, guys. What's up? It's popping.
And the more this sense is very faint all the time. You usually barely pick up this little thing about someone else. Oh yeah. And you just realize that, oh yeah, probably the reason why I didn't feel anything for the past 2 days is, well, I've mostly been asleep, but everyone in the garden comes from another shard. So they all have this baseline of similar something. This is why you're not picking up anything from the gnomes or the dwarves or the half-elves that you've met that are from the garden. And when you think about it, it's sort of, oh yeah, it's like trying to isolate the smell of roses when you've been working in a flower shop selling only roses for the past 10 years.
Fair enough.
Oh, okay. But these ones, there's definitely something different about their smell. About their shard smell.
I'm just here. I'm just waiting for someone to tell me why I'm here. Follow them around.
You get into this room, and you are let in. Ilithane and Thayag both let you in first.
Okay. I guess I will walk in and try and look confident.
When you walk in, there's a moment of relief, I would imagine, as you realize you're not alone in the room. You see this human that you talked to barely a day and a half ago. Bertrand. Bertrand.
I give him a confident wink. Like I am confident.
So when you see him, there's sort of, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And then there's this moment of, oh yeah, I'm not alone, and he's in there also. God damn. You see Kortarash in the room also. This person...
I just give
Yeah.
him a look. Give him a nod.
He looks at you, just... Ah. Ah. Looks in front of him. There are 3 other person from the garden inside the room, all of which you have at least seen. One you have actually talked to several times. Corinth, the turtle, is inside the room.
I like him. He's a cool dude.
Sitting right next to him, there is Neisa, a elven bard. The way they're sitting next to one another, you get the feeling that they're really old friends.
Oh, I know. Let's see. I marked her. She was the one doing diplomatic missions from before.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any other. I don't think I talked with her. I just seen what she was doing.
She's a bard. She played the very first night I think you were in there, or the second night. So you recognize her, and you know that she's extremely talented. She probably has the most beautiful voice you have ever heard. Even greater than the half-elf that you paid 20 gold to draw her attention.
All right. I'll give them both a smile. I like the turtle. He's a cool dude.
There's one that you've only seen, but you never talked to him, but you've seen his name on the board. It's one of the other Dragonborns. You know his name to be Kudown.
I think I have him.
He has a bit of a odd color for a Dragonborn, sort of a dull silver, maybe shiny gray, something like that. It's sort of difficult to get his origin when you're just looking at him like this. From first glance, you'd say because of the color palette, maybe a mix between silver and white dragon, more predominantly. But that's as far as you can get at understanding him. He does have armor. You know, he's probably at least good in fight. He has metal armor, a breastplate.
I'll give him a nod as well. Okay.
So those are the person inside the room.
Okay.
You see Teag and Illithane go to the front of the room in front of all of you. Illithane steps forward and says, "We've all gathered you here because, oddly enough, I was just talking about something like this with one of you. You've all shown a boldness that goes a bit further beyond what was needed at the time. A bit further than what is needed also right now. And this has all led you to live through something that separates you from the rest of your friends. I would ask all of you, if you believe you can live with this secret, try not to spread this to everyone. The goal is not to inspire panic. The goal is to give you a little more information, help you maybe understand some things. But also, you have the right to know something more than the others because of this." You see Illithane step back and Teag moves forward. "Well, I have had the chance to talk to each one of you at least once since you've got here. It's been a pleasure. Some of you have very aggressive personality, but all in all," you hear Corin just go when she says that. "But all in all, you all have something a bit, some would say brave, some would say reckless. And you have all been exposed to something more. And so you're all entitled to at least know something that most of your friends might have guessed, but will not know unless you tell them. But as Illithane said, if you can live with the secret, we would appreciate it if you would not diffuse this information recklessly, even from your friends. Most of you have come in contact with creatures from other realms during the last few, as you call it, quests. But those of you here, through one method or the other, have seen something more. Something that even the bravest of you, and she turns slightly toward Core when she says this, have been shook by. You've all felt what you have all referred to as the end. That is the reason why, or at least one of them, why we remain so isolated from your world. What you have lived, what you have experienced, was merely a footprint, a fading footprint from an entity which our limitation are meant to not draw its attention to you, to your world. This is why we are so often limited in the means we can use. This is why, even though it has most likely become very apparent for most of you, this is why we seem to be so far ahead of you, but yet are forced to use means which compares and even feel a bit restrained compared to what you've most likely seen in different laboratories. If we push too hard, its attention is what could be drawn on your world. And as you have all felt, that would be undesirable. There's not much you can do about it. Entities like these ones, dwarves any entities you can think of. They're not part of your world. They're not part of what you should have lived through. But for some reason, you have. And so you at least deserve to know that this is one of the things we are trying to protect you from. This is one of our limitations. If you ever need to ask more questions, we're always open for this. We will tell you as much as we can, which is not nearly enough for some of you. If you want to talk about this among yourselves, the people you see in this room right now, along with a few other adventurers, are those who know of this. And you can speak freely among yourselves. Just try not to be too obvious about it, especially if you try and talk about this outside of the garden. We would very much appreciate to avoid the panic that such an entity could cause in your world. For references, among those who aren't in the garden right now but know about this, many of you have known them. They've been some of the more active members of the garden. There is the druid Sarn, who's been aware of this since before any of you he actually was the first one we talked to about this. There is also the wizard, Lofiralis, an elf. His research has given him a little bit of insight into this. And this is why he hasn't been seen for the past month. He has been processing this information in his own way. The same thing can be said about the elf Anvara, who has also been a witness to this in her own way. The last member who has heard of this is the follower of the Way of the Silk, a monk, Amiali. Those are those who you can talk to about this, outside of the people in this room right now. So if you have any questions before we leave, this would be the perfect time. If not, well, we would just ask that you keep this among ourselves. And that you be discreet about it if you need to talk to us about it.
I'm gonna do the casual thing when a teacher asks for a question where I look around the room to see if anyone's raising their hand.
You do see the human warrior who just is it true that the entity can really destroy this world? Teag looks at him gently, almost motherly, and says, because of many unique things about your world, yes, it can. You see the human go, okay. Okay. He just sits down. You see Corinth. Just look at this and... So are you saying there's nothing we can do about it, huh? You hear Ilithane says, well, no. To be blunt, you'd need to find a way to be immortal to start thinking about doing something about it. You see Corin go, oh. Well, at least I have a goal now.
I like this man. In my mind, worked the exact same way.
You hear Cor go, yeah. Well, when you succeed on that, maybe you should try and come and see me. Who's actually gonna try and do something about this without finding a way to delay this indefinitely? So, are there no weapons that can actually do something to this entity? You hear Teag say, well, none that exist in your world. You hear Cor, now that's an interesting challenge. What do you say, Tarash? let's find a way to become dangerous. He's speaking to his blade when he says that. Tarash is the name of his blade.
Is he Darkwing Duck?
No one else is saying anything right now in the room. They're just looking at one another. You see the human who is slightly worried about the answer that Kor and Corinth just given. Neisa just looks at all of this, looking at everyone. You see her just nod and doesn't add anything to this.
I guess I will. Yeah, I guess I'll say something. I'll say. Well, it seems that at the moment, none of us where we are can do much about this. So, at the end of the day, I don't think we should let it affect us too much. We all can continue with our own goals and aspirations, since I assume, looking around them, as adventures, most of them involve getting stronger or, finding some way to improve yourself and improve the world. And through that path, perhaps we will find more answers that we would desire, looking more at Core and that. But it seems at the moment, just, sitting around waiting for the inevitable to happen is a waste of time. We should just continue with our quests and our parties and what we were doing anyway. There are plenty of other problems we can deal with. Don't have to worry about the impossible.
You hear Teag add to this. Yes, absolutely. We didn't ask you here to find a way to deal with this. This is something we know will eventually solve itself. But we believe that you all deserved at least some answers as to what it is that you saw. And why we are remaining in the shadows. Of course, we're not going to tell adventurers such as all of you to not try and think of a way to solve this. But you aren't meant to solve this one. Doesn't mean that the struggle to find a way isn't important, but this isn't the reason why you're all here. This problem has its own solution. One that right now isn't apparent, and most likely will not be for, during the lifespan of most of you, but eventually it will. Right now, there has been another problem appearing, and this part of the conversation you can all have with your friends. It seems that there has been more and more crack in the world. Shards are rubbing against yours, and creatures are appearing. Slivers are being found in many different areas. We all know where a sliver comes from. It comes from something impacting on another gem. This is most likely more something you can actually do something about. It is from your world, and it is happening to your world. And even though some of you, and she looks at Bertrand when she says this, and even though some of you are just starting their journey, not yet feeling very confident about the full extent of their abilities, I would feel more confident that this is at least related to the reason why you've all found your way here. So, I think that some of you are actually preparing to leave for yet another quest. I will let you go back to your friends. As we said, try not to worry them with things that will most likely never be within their reach to solve. But do not hesitate to talk about things which you can actually solve. You can leave. You get Illithane just try to follow the same path you have taken to get here. We will know if you don't.
An audience rolls a history check, trying to remember it.
Can I pay attention to where the way I can? Yes, I did. I rolled at least to like 15. I know.
Wow, that's good for audience. You know, you thought you were going to the principal office, so yeah, it's
Gotta check the escape routes, man.
yeah, you know, in case you had to start running.
Especially once the paddle was taken out.
Yeah.
All right, so you are left to go back to your things, and you're all moving to wherever you were before. Corinth and Neisa are talking among themselves, and like I said, the way they're talking, it feels like they've been friends for, I don't know, 4 years or something like that. They're sort of talking and at the same time making reference to things that makes no sense to everyone else listening to. Pretty much like when you're listening to someone talking about their D&D adventure with someone else who was part of their group, but you have just learned what D&D is, and you're just listening to them and, yeah, cool, yeah, I know what that is. So that's a bit the level of complicity there is between the two of them. They know each other from a long time. There's Kor, who just keeps mostly to himself, and also feels like he's always in front of everyone for some reason. There's a human who seems to be really deep in thought and disturbed by some of the things he saw. And that Dragonborn who didn't say a single word, just listened to everything.
It's a little odd, I would think to myself. Probably just about, I mean, normally Dragonborn have an opinion and like to state it, but not the quiet types.
No.
Normally.
If you hadn't seen the fact that he is wearing armor and he looks experienced in his demeanor, you'd probably be among those who would say, one of those Dragonborn that's always lethargic. But he's wearing armor that doesn't look brand new. And he doesn't have a weapon, which is odd.
It is odd. Is he standing, or is he still sitting down?
Right now, everyone is standing up and leaving the room and making their way outside of the command area.
Alright. I would try and be somewhere in the middle of the group that left, not the first out the door, not the last. in the fly under the radar zone, as they call it.
Okay. In that case, you'd probably find yourself next to the human who's just walking and thinking about this. You get the feeling just by looking at him that he probably feels a little bit overwhelmed by all of this. And also now knowing that all of these people inside the room, they've seen and felt the same thing you did underwater. That's a human. They're not known to be as strong as other race, as stable as other race. But he's standing, and he's not going through depression right now. He looks shaken, but
This seems like a good time to give him a reassuring smile and tell him to not worry. The dragons are looking over us.
try to convert someone even when in the garden. Yeah.
Salesman is always selling.
Yeah. Especially since he's been reminded that he hasn't been doing a lot of sales lately.
Yeah. My boss told me I needed to pick up the sales work.
Pick up the slacks. You know, there's a level coming soon if you want your powers increased. So you give him the whole story, part of the story. You talk to him until
I try and use, because I remember that with my experiences, I know that people are just a lot shaky and need reassurances, and that was something that actually my god brought up to me in our last stream. So I'm going to try put it more in a way of like, you know, I know that things seem tough right now, but, you know, reassuring him that there are those out there, not just the evil entities trying to destroy the world, but those that want to look after it and look out for us, and that by having faith in them, we can perhaps find the answers that we cannot, you know, are not able to find on our own.
okay. Make a persuasion roll.
All right, let's roll high, boys.
It's been a while.
That is high. That's a 21.
Wow.
19. Not that bad.
If only you could have rolled like that with Temptress.
Listen, I gave her a good argument. She just needed some time. Okay? We're coming back to her. Going to Othanel soon.
Alright. Well, look at him and yeah, I guess it helps when you know that there is more and there isn't only darkness that is more, but also light. That's something to be taken into consideration. Thank you. Audience. Is that audience?
Yes.
Audience. A bit of an odd name. In the good way.
Yeah.
You know, you follow a god, your name is Audience. I'm sure a lot of people have told you this very often before, but do you often seek an audience with your god?
I try to when I have occasion.
You probably heard that one a lot. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just had to get it out of my system.
It's all good.
You gave me to think about. It's always good to rely on something that is more.
Yes. Especially when that thing is, I'd say, personally more, let's say, worldly than some of the other entities that sometimes seem to be hard to get an answer from. Put it like that.
Well, I don't know about you, but I didn't hear any words coming from mine. It was just sensation. Dread.
Sensation and dread, you know. the end of the day, that's not going to help you too much in a fight.
No.
That's why I like to, rely on something a little bit more tangible.
Instead
Whether
of
that be
instead of looking at the end, looking at the beginning. Yeah, that probably wasn't a very good analogy though. But yeah, looking on the brighter side of things.
yes, and looking for answers instead of the impossible.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. You've given me things to think about. Well, I'll give a thought to your dragon. Next time I'm in temple, I'll see if he's there.
That would be most appreciated. I hope that you find an answer.
Oh, I get the feeling that from what the he gives this silent, shy smile of the schoolyard teenager who doesn't want to say the pretty girl, but just said the woman talking. There's not much sense in trying to find answers to things we can't even completely fathom.
That's what I'm saying. Just work on what you can. That's all you can do. And by doing that, you'll find that you can do more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. He draws part of his sword, which is a long sword, on his left side. He draws part of it and he looks at it, and yeah, you see there's runes inscribed on the blade itself. The blade itself looks pretty simple, but these runes, they look a bit arcane in nature. And there's a bit of familiarity with this and some of the things you've seen Fisher do. Giving you the feeling that they might share class.
Fair enough.
They're both very classy bitches.
Yeah.
I'll kind of give him a last reassuring smile, then kind of leave him to thought as I walk out.
Oh, thank you, and good questing.
You as well.
Oh.
Mentally make a note that humans really like to be given something, desired. That speech seemed to work well. Remember that one for the future.
You see audience leaving, taking his little notebook, and works well with humans. All right. From your side, Fisher and Raimi, you make your way back to the tavern, and there's only the two of you for a good moment of this. So, if you want to talk about something, there's a good moment there. If not, I'll just keep on going.
You gotta get over yourself.
Raimi just cocks his head to the side, confused.
You're acting weird. And I haven't noticed any reason why you should be. And audience hasn't noticed any reason why you should be. So
His feathers fluff.
the sooner you stop acknowledging it, whatever it was, the less likely any of us are going to figure out what it actually is. If you keep drawing attention to it, someone's going to notice.
I imagine that Raimi has like, I mean, I assume like maybe there was like a cup of alcohol, and Raimi just like opens his beak and just drowns it.
Fisher, you hear from inside of you, oh yes, and we know how that well ended up last time.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Seems to be a rather common way for people to try and forget about things, so I'm not gonna judge.
Remy, he started talking to himself again. He does that more and more these days. Maybe his arcane spells are starting to decay. You know, it's like old age, but for Warforged, for Construct. I mean, you know about Terranad, but feels like he's doing this a lot.
Raimi in a woman's voice says, "It's okay, Raimi. I know you didn't mean it."
Now I'm just confused.
As you look at Remy confused about what he said, you see something even more confusing. You see a warden entering the inn with a slab of meat about 3 foot long and a foot thick. And you hear him just say, "Why does he always keep bringing these meat to me? Always want it. This creature tried to eat me. That's my turn. I'm gonna give him back the favor." And you see him go in the kitchen.
Raimi
I don't remember
blinks.
audience grabbing anything new.
A piece of meat, 3 feet long and a feet thick. That's larger than most goblin.
Audience is the only one I've seen do that, so
Well, actually, you've heard about someone else doing that.
I think I know who it is, but Fisher probably doesn't remember.
Okay. That's fair.
I know immediately who it is. Because I remember the conversation.
So you keep staring yourself like this until I decide to continue?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said what he wanted to say to
That's
Raimi.
alright.
That was about it.
That's alright.
And Raimi just
Fisher's no stranger to long silences.
It's most of his life. Ooh.
And Raimi just like keeps calling drinks over and drowns them.
At one point, you do have a moment where Remy, that's even odd for you because you usually have such a good passive perception. This one, you didn't even hear it arrive near you. For you, that means something. That means that you probably share at least a little bit of profession with this person. It's the goblin, the only goblin that you've seen in the garden, who just seems to appear right next to you. Fisher, you also haven't even noticed him. There's just this voice at one point that appears from right below the table line, right next to Remy, and this is when you realize that you see 2 ears from a goblin. You hear the goblin Remy talk to you. Well, I don't think that drinking is the best way to solve all problems, but everyone has his own way.
Remy, when they start speaking, just like jumps like.
The visual that you have when you look at him, you've seen people like this. They're usually called professional killers. Usually hired by a lot of money to kill people.
Remy raises one hand and is kind of waving, but the other hand is also on one of his daggers.
Yeah. I agree with one hand. He looks at the table. Looks at you, Fisher. All you see is this head slightly going above the table and looking at you, Fisher. And yeah. I guess it makes sense. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sorry, do I smell bad?
You smell like a graveyard.
Fair enough.
Like pumpkins rotting in a graveyard.
What does he smell like?
Cinnamony pumpkin rotten in a graveyard.
Can I make a shard sniff check to see what the goblin smells like?
Yeah, sure you can.
That's wisdom, right?
Yeah.
10.
You are suddenly aware of Remy's cinnamon perfume. It's covering your senses. You can't pick up what his scent is. But Remy smells like cinnamon bread.
Do you have a baking accident? There's such thing as too much, my guy.
Damn. Rip.
Also, you should probably stop hammering those away. Otherwise, you're going to do something else you don't want to.
I think that's
And
already...
I casually slide whatever he's drinking away from him.
You You hear the goblin go, I think that's already happening, with his other hand.
What's Raymond got in his other hand? Is it another drink?
No.
I don't want to say this in front of the stream. Right now, his other hand is somewhere on his belt. No, it's... the reason isn't bad. It's just saying that can be interpreted in so many different ways. That's all I mean. You see one hand on the table and you see the other one that's, where his belt should be. There's... With people that have swords, that's usually where it is. With him, it's usually other types of weapons. But from your point of view, it just looks like he has one hand down his pants. Because you can't see the belt.
I'll turn to the goblin. Do you need something?
No. I got everything I need.
Sorry if our smell is bothering you.
Not bothering me.
Why are
He
you
leaves
guys
on
so
that.
Bad at
Then
making
go away.
friends? Why are you guys so bad at making... Oh my god, I am the only social member with Tykar's not here.
Yeah.
If he wasn't a part of the goblin or the garden, he wouldn't have his head anymore.
Like Raimi, Raimi is staring at the goblin for a moment, and before, with his other hand, starts making like a tapping sound, a rhythmic tapping sound.
Something like 3 dots, 3 long dots, and 3 dots.
Like, well, you're not incorrect. He is kind of like he is basically asking him a question in Thieves' Cant.
Okay, aim toward the goblin.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm not wrong on this, so you're basically asking him if he needs help?
Yes.
Okay. He stops for a moment. He turns his head slowly. And he says, when the fruit is ripe, maybe. Turns his head again and he leaves.
Raimi watches him leave and then relaxes the hand on his belt. Then the free hand slowly reaches back for the drink.
Pull it a little farther away.
And then an invisible force starts trying to push the glass back toward Raimi.
Suddenly, Fisher, you feel a slight resistance and the glass moving away. It's only 5 pounds, so it's not that much, but it's still a little bit of resistance.
Mm-hmm. I let go of the mug. And does it just fly to Raimi?
I don't know, Raimi, did the mug fly back to you?
Yeah, just slides right back into Raimi's hand.
So it was you. I thought it was.
Whew,
But I wasn't entirely sure yet.
good thing Tykar wasn't there.
Raimi just picks it up and downs it.
So now he has a reason to be nervous around audience and around that goblin. On one side, there's audience. On the other side, the contract killer. And of course, Fisher, you look at this and you look at Raimi. You turn your head. You see two gnomes looking at you, and you just turn to one another and you owe me 5 gold.
Do I get a cut?
No, you lost.
I didn't even bet anything.
You hear the other one go, you should have.
Well, next time, let me in on it, dude.
No. Can't believe addiction.
You hear one of the gnomes say, you can't believe just how much we're learning just by watching all of you.
Well, I'm glad you're entertained, I guess.
Oh, with so many people, it's not hard to be entertained. I mean,
What, you guys have like a...
Try to imagine this. A ship full of people from another world. With weird customs.
Are you telling me that you just watch everybody like a bunch of weirdos and then bet on what you think they're gonna do?
Oh, no. We watch everybody because it's our job. And we bet on everything just because we're bored. You get you one. Stop doing that.
Fair enough.
Raimi just gets overwhelmed by a wave of nostalgia.
Just to help the situation a lot. You suddenly hear a lot of noise entering inside the inn. Your head automatically turns around and you see audience entering with Core just a few steps in front of him. Core and Nisa going to their own way. And this odd-looking dragonborn behind everyone else, just walking straight to the end of the tavern, going up one level, and reuniting with another dragonborn. One that looks a little bit brighter than he does. The other one, you're not sure. The mix of color is something that's not supposed to exist, but because it's a mix of colors, rusty gold. That's how you would call that color.
Is that the one he's meeting with, or is that the...
No, that's the one he's meeting with. He's going on the second level, and he's meeting up with this other dragonborn with that color. The other one has a bit more of an armor, sword that you can see, and this rusty gold color. Bit of a contrast when you look at them. One is gray, one is rusted gold. Then you see audience arriving at the table, and Core just a step behind him because
You get in trouble?
He stopped.
Amy jumps and floofs.
He stopped for a moment when he saw you, Fisher. So audience just doubles in, and the moment you ask audience this question, did you get in trouble? You hear Cargo. I thought you died, Tin Soldier.
Not yet.
Oh, don't worry. Your luck's gonna run out someday.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the luck's already run out.
Looks at the camera.
Cor leans over a bit when he sees this. When he sees you, crosses his arm and... Maybe you're right. It does feel like it's a little bit less about luck and more about something else. Maybe the person who was paid to fold your steel into something was, I don't know, worth something? Doing a little bit more than just metal origami? I know you don't eat anything, but what about you? He cocks his head toward audience. Feel like eating a creature that tried to eat me?
Audience actually perks up. Ooh, what was it? I have been known to you're the only other person I've heard of that does this. I've been known to take the meat of those that tried to kill me and eat it instead. I feel it has a satisfying taste.
I only try to eat those who try to eat me. Sort of feel like it's a good ending.
I would agree.
Come on, it's a sea creature that I'm eating tonight.
I'm interested. Well, what was this creature that was trying to eat you?
One of those large sea snake.
Sea snakes. I don't think I saw. Well, I don't know. I guess I could roll to see if I heard or saw any on my long passage over. I don't think I did. No, I didn't.
Tell me what you rolled.
2.
2. Nah, you're there. Sea snake. Feels like something someone mentioned. That's all your memories giving you back, though.
I'll be like, yeah, one of the sailors I was on a boat with might have mentioned about sea snake. Never seen one for myself.
If you'd seen one, you'd remember it.
How big are they?
Well, this one was, I think, 900 feet long.
It's a solid size. How'd you take it down?
Always attack the head.
That does seem to be a fair battle tactic.
Yeah, he tried to eat me. I gave him a reason to be hesitant. For 35 seconds. Now I'm eating him.
Well, I will try a bite of this creature then. It sounds like you put a good amount of work into killing it.
You know, I've seen bigger.
You'll have to tell me about them too at some point.
Hi, Mike.
Fair enough.
You all look like you've been through something a bit similar. You all have that pumpkin graveyard smell.
I'll smell. I'm like, I don't smell pumpkin. Oh. Wait. Confused by the pumpkin, so I like... Oh, and then I remembered the creature that we fought in the Nightmare Realm that had a pumpkin head. I'll assume he means that.
Yeah, he's definitely getting the impression of that. And Fisher and Raimi, if you want, you both have enough information to know that there's probably something with him.
Like he's come into contact with a
Something
one or
else.
multiple. Uh-huh.
Are you asking to roll a smell check?
I'm only saying if you want to, you can, but you don't have to.
All right, I am going to. Hey,
Grammy's trying to focus on something else.
18.
18.
Only 15.
15 would be enough because the moment you start focusing on it, and audience, the only reason why you didn't pick it up is because you rolled so low. It sort of all got mixed in the room. But Fisher and Raimi, the moment that you're made aware of this and you start just focusing slightly on it, you have this strong sensation of elemental mayhem. It's like you're looking at a hurricane, a tsunami, an earth-shattering earthquake, and an erupting volcano, all at the same time. Whatever he's been in contact with, it's something that is elementally unstable to the point that you can easily imagine that simply surviving arriving in there is a feat.
Grammy just scoots a few inches away.
And now you understand a bit more where his confidence come from.
And thus Raimi orders a fourth drink.
You start seeing all those drinks pile up.
My God, this man's gonna get so wasted.
Fisher, you have this moment where you hear Terranad go, "Is it me or he just stopped calling us toy soldier and now he's calling us metal origami thing?"
I don't know which is worse.
He's not calling you a toy anymore.
Yeah, at least Soldier was part of it. This is in my head, by the way. I'm not saying it out loud. At least Soldier was part of it. Origami's just weird shape things.
Well, it's usually folding paper
Yeah.
into a shape. Now he's saying that you went from a toy soldier to Metal folded in the shape of a soldier. Feel like there's an improvement there.
I feel like that's moving laterally instead of vertically.
I mean, you know more about their customs than I do. I'm a bit out of date in costumes.
Say that again.
I mean, last time I was there, they were hunting his species.
Yeah. Well, you can see why.
Damn.
I'm not sure Fisher would do well in our world.
No. No, he would not.
So far, we've had problem with consent. We have had problem with species, and now we have a problem with agreeing with genocide. Whew.
Listen, we're the heroes, and no one can say otherwise. Let's move on.
Good idea. So you're all sitting at this table, enjoying this last night together. As tomorrow, you've already said that you're going back on the road. Finishing that last quest that you took, for you, was only a few weeks ago. But for the rest of the world, it's nearly 2 months ago.
You guys think Tykar got lost in here?
I believe it.
Did you say that out loud?
Yeah.
Well, there is Core that is at the table right now, and when you say that, you hear him say, "Is that the other person that you remember? The fruit bowl?"
Tykar is a bird dude, flashy. He performed here. I think I heard he performed here a couple nights ago. Did like something. He's like a colorful bird man.
Yeah, he looks like a salad.
I just have not thought of it that way, but
Maybe just bursts out laughing and just starts like repeating his voice. Salad, salad, salad.
Oh goodness, we broke him.
Don't let Tykar hear you say that. He'd probably hurt himself.
Well, now I have to make a point out of talking to him.
that won't go well for either party. I think to myself. Well, not really either party. I think one party will be perfectly fine. The
Yeah.
other might not go well. If they get angry and try and hit that other party with a loot.
Hey man, if you could direct his attention somewhere else.
Raimi
Fisher,
as
do
he's
not
laughing.
serve up Tykars. You're sacrificing your place.
Why not?
Raimi as he's like laughing and maybe even kind of like slamming his hand on the table a few times now. It's like just minor allusions to Thykar as like this, like the result after being attacked by the fire cat. And he's just laughing.
Jesus.
See, now it does look like a fruit bowl. There's green, there's red. I don't know where that color is coming from.
Guys, I was trying to we shouldn't talk bad about people behind their back. Talking bad to their face, that's a different matter. You can do that, you know.
You're absolutely right. When do you think
Fair
he's going to
enough.
be there?
I mean, yeah, we would, but he's not here, is it?
As they said, he might have gone. You know, he's probably asleep still. He's kind of a late sleeper.
Fair enough.
Lazy salad. Yeah. All right. Well, hey you. He points at you. He points at you, audience. Have a
Yeah.
bite of this. And if it's
All
too
right.
bland, there's that red sludge. What is it called again? No, never mind. It's in the language that I don't know. Some sort of spice mixed with something. You just mix it up with this, and it becomes extremely spicy.
All right. I guess I'll take a bite and see how well I like it.
How'd you like?
I rolled a nat 20. I guess I'm out hunting sea snakes.
Damn!
They're one of my new favorite dishes.
You like sea snake and jelly
Spicy
balls.
jello. Yeah, I'm very exotic.
Yeah.
Damn,
I
that's
taste it.
that's the best thing you've ever tasted. I mean, the creature you used to hunt when you were a child has a special place in your memory. But that... Whoa.
I'll be like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is one of the best things I've ever eaten. I'll have to go out and hunt some, I guess, if I want more.
Well, I guess I could use bait.
Hey man, I'll be like, hey, whatever gets me a meal of this, I'll be bait. I don't care. Tell me when you're hunting another.
Sure. Probably gonna take a while. No one needs anything else from them. You know, they wanted a scale. But hey, if they don't have any quests, it's always good to just go hunting for food. And with that, you can feed a lot of people.
I'd say probably pretty much an entire city. It's 900 feet.
Or an entire beach, you know.
Yeah.
Depending on where the rest of it fall. What about you, Pitch Black? He turns toward you, Remy.
Like, you probably catch him downing a fifth drink.
You're always eating out of his bowl. There's some on the table.
Wait, I'm sorry, repeat that? I didn't quite hear.
He said, you're always eating out of his bowl. Now, there's some on the table. Pick it yourself.
Like, wondering is like, Ramey's just, you know what, he's not, he's probably a little bit too buzzed to think that, like, how does he know that?
Well, he saw you eating a few times in the garden, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, he's a little too buzzed to think about it, and just like, it's like, I guess, like, hand outstretched, or
Just pick it. Come on. Stop being picky.
just he kind of stares at it for a moment, and then his beak literally just
Good. Probably better than what you're used to eating. Aren't blackbirds like you usually carrion feeder?
hold on for a moment. Oh, fell right out of the cup. Okay. So Raimi, at hearing the B word, just kind of like narrows his eyes at him.
She doesn't care.
Which B word?
Just opens his beak. It's I don't think he likes being called a bird.
Yeah. So he's not a bird. He's a pet. That's good. That's good to know. I'll remember it.
Remy just looks at him, stunned. Then turns his head at audience and then orders a 6 drink.
Audience is not protecting you from this one.
No.
I will try and intercept it. Just be like, Raimi, I think it's time for you to go to bed. We have to head out in the morning, and from what I hear, traveling with a hangover is not fun.
Remy's feathers just floof and then just hops off of his table and just starts walking out of the tavern or by himself.
Remy, you are just about out of earshot when you hear Core say, and you know he's not talking about to you, but he's talking to audience and maybe Fisher, and you can hear it because his voice carries. Hey, having 2 birds in your group must be very useful for writing. You're never missing a quill.
Fisher's gonna stand up and then turn to audience.
Mhm.
Have fun with your new friend. And then leave.
You see Core turning his head toward you. Don't worry. You didn't hear the first part of the conversation. He just volunteered to be bait next time I'm going hunting. I have to feed it.
They're just gonna
Audience.
walk out.
Audience thinks to themselves, needs to work with Remy on Fisher and being too sensitive and understanding some people are just this way. There's not a lot you can do about it. You gotta learn to roll with it.
Yeah, and when you think about it, oddly enough, you know a few people who act pretty much the way he does in your home village.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you know. It's a way of talking, it's a way of behaving that can be quite insulting, but also there's meaning in everything he says. And although you don't know this because you haven't heard Terranad say anything, you did also hear the difference in the way that he talks about Fisher. He no longer calls him a toy soldier, but now he's folded steel.
I was just happy he called me nothing. He said you. That's a pretty big upgrade. I've gotten up to you in his terms. It's pretty good.
Gotten up. He never called you anything to begin with.
Yeah, he did. At the beginning, he did. He called me like... I forget what he called me, honestly. He called me something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as audience, you end this evening surrounded, well, mostly just accompanied by someone who talks in a way that you've heard a lot of times in your childhood growing up. And although you know that this is most likely doesn't earn him a lot of friends, you also understand part of his language, which feels odd to say, but Remy know thieves can't. You know warrior provocation and bravado and posturing. And that is definitely it.
It's okay, he can back it up. And until...
So...
I'm just saying for Raimi, it's just one word. Singular word.
Oh, it's mostly... really easily give you the impression that he doesn't really care about how you react to this. It's how you feel about this. It's more about how you react to this. And also, Remy, you've seen people like this. You've been in criminal circle very often. You can recognize someone who is acting alpha from someone who is alpha and acting alpha. And not trying to learn where he is supposed to be in this group, but is trying to see where you are trying to put yourself in that group. And most likely in the morning when you wake up, you're gonna realize, yeah, I missed every single opportunity to give him the message that I am not the bottom feeder of the group. Alcohol.
He had other stuff on his mind.
Which the alcohol was meant to occult. That is not coming out the way I want it to. And Fisher, well, you have Terranad, which I know isn't that much of a comfort. And so you all end your evening. Remy, drunk again. Fisher, not sure what you're supposed to think about the last day. Probably. Am I mistaken?
Fisher's going to sleep again.
With the fishes or in his room?
In his room.
In his room this time? You
No.
don't want to give the satisfaction to the gnomes of finding you?
I feel like there's money writing on it that I'll be in the pond again. And if I'm not going to get anything from get any of that, I'm going to be in the back of the room.
And audience, you finish your day in surrounding oddly familiar. Though maybe a little bit louder. He is very confident of himself. So, unless there is something you would all like to do before going to sleep, falling asleep, and waking up in the morning, ready to go to your next quest, this is where this episode will end.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Then you all go to sleep with the memories of everything that happened today. Remy, you have a new insult for Tykar. Audience, you have new friends. Fisher.
I'm sleeping. I rolled a 5 on my wisdom save.
Pressure just wants out of this session.
I fell asleep half an hour ago.
I wanna reset on my dice and just.
Hey, I rolled a 19 earlier.
Hey, you did. You got your one good roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about making you do a wisdom save, but yeah, no matter what.
I just wanted to roll to see what it would be because I thought it was going to be that, and I was right.
No, I thought about it because, like I said just before we started, there was supposed to be a 2-week vacation after the next quest. But you all got blundered by the teleportation, so the 2 weeks happened before the quest, meaning that there was a lot of things which were waiting for you at the garden that now needed to happen before the end of the next quest. Alright, so this is where the episode ends for tonight. I hope you had a decent evening at least. There was a little bit more conversation than usual, but like I said, there was something unplanned for in the previous session, and also in this one, with the player missing, so got this part over with. And next episode, we can start, hopefully with a full party, and just as our party is leaving the garden for its quest of exploring a gnomish abandoned arcane laboratory. A laboratory for which a group has already been sent in and didn't come out. So there's at least a little bit of danger in there. This is going to be the focus of the next episode. So, until next week, have a pleasant week. And if you enjoyed the show enough to want to support us, which would be nice, you can always follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And remember, 50 followers on Twitch. That's the goal right now. Almost there. And of course, you can always support us by making a donation on Patreon. Making a donation or becoming a Patreon. And of course, by spreading the word of our channel. The more people there are, the more fun it'll be to watch and to share and chat. Because apparently Remy mostly talked to himself in the chat. It would be fun if he actually had someone to talk to. So please, help a player. Talk in the chat. And thank you for Chaotic Calling for being there. I see they've been there. Hey, exactly. All right. So, hope you had a pleasant evening. If not, well, nothing much I can do about it because the evening has just ended. So, but hopefully next one will be better. And as always, have a good week. Stay safe, and especially now, I'd say with everything that's been going on, with more than one thing. But for the health part, because of that virus, stay healthy. It would be, well, a bit disappointing if we'd lost people because you weren't careful. So please, for us, for you, for your friends, for your family, for your dog, who is going to miss you if you're gone, stay healthy. Bye. See you next week.
Good night.